Hey there, welcome back to another video tutorial or video information about WebSockets. This is my WebSocket series, and this is the second part of my submission. So last time we talked about the some basic introduction about WebSockets, what they are commonly used for, what are the like common practical application on which we could utilize the WebSockets. uh, Mainly we are using a library called Socket.io. So if you guys are not familiar, so Socket.io is basically a wrapper that makes use of the WebSocket API um, on the web. So yeah, so I mean we can use WebSocket, the native WebSocket library or module, which is available on the web, but using Socket.io is a lot, what do you call this, easier. You would not want to, or there's no need for you to actually do like additional setup just to set up like the client and the backend of the web sockets or the sockets themselves. So this time I was thinking maybe we should create like another project, and I was thinking of something like originally I was thinking of something like um, a Bitcoin application or a cryptocurrency application wherein you can see the fluctuation of data, the real-time data. It goes up and down and change of value. So I was originally thinking of creating a dashboard regarding that, but due to limited API data or API endpoints or services that I can use, some are behind paywall, so unfortunately I cannot make use of that. So I was thinking, how about we create a dashboard about the your system unit or your PC's utilization processes, about the CPU processes, the RAM management, disk space, what else, network stats, and IP, some changes in the temperature for your PC. So there was this one nifty, what do you call this, library that I found. It's called OS Utils. So I believe this is something that we can use like on the back end so that we can broadcast data to the client side using the Socket IO library, and from there we can actually grab some information about our like say this one, the process time, the free memory, about the some general information about your operating system, so stuff like that. So we can actually, it's pretty similar to what we see in the task manager. If you guys if you are meticulous and you always try to take a look about your the particulars of your PC's processes. So I was hoping to achieve, or create something like this from scratch. So before we head out and create this, and just disclaimer, I'm not going to be creating like the project from ground up. um, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up like the basic boilerplate and the project setup so that we won't have to dwell on those, and the only thing that we need to like focus on is the setup for polling data for the client, and at the same time broadcasting information using the OS utils package on the back end. So with that said, I think it's great for us to discuss how we're going to approach the project first. So I made two flowcharts here. One is for the setup and one is for the process. So basically the setup involves us creating a new project. So this one, we're going to create a new project here. And since we're going to be building, or I'm going to be laying the foundation for the server and client, mostly I mean, if this is like gonna be like one project, in my perspective, the way I would approach this is I'm gonna create like a single npm package wherein I can both control the server and the client. You, on the other hand, can, like, if you want things a bit more organized or much more isolated, you can either create two separate folders or two separate npm packages, either on, you know, and make them like on a different directory on your hard drive. uh, and you that's possible as well. I mean, but for me, for the sake of just creating the project, just going I'm just going to unify them into one package, so it won't be that much of a hassle for me to find where the files are gonna be. So yeah, I'm gonna create like one project here, and it's gonna be controlled by one npm package manager. I'm gonna be creating a server folder on the directory on which I'm going to install the socket.io library for the backend, because this is the part wherein we need to emit the data for on which our client is going to listen to. So we're going to set up the server here, and on the client I'm going to set up the socket.io client as well, so that we can subscribe to the changes that our server right here is going to broadcast. So that's what we're going to do. Of course, the external libraries that we would use for this is, first is the OSUtils. This is what we need in order for us to scrape data about our current PC or desktop or laptop or what have you, system units, information regarding the memory, CPU, network stats, and so on and so forth. We're going to be using recharts or recharts as well, because I'm going to be using React as the client client JavaScript library for the client. So we're going to be using that so that we can portray the data that we're going to be receiving from the server, and make them what do you call this, produce like graphical representation of what we should be seeing on the client side. So if that makes sense, we're going to be using Anti, but we're not going to be focusing on that much. It's just going to be like the basic boilerplate of the project. So yeah, and of course NodeMon for the server, because we're just going to be using this like locally, and every time I refresh some changes for the server code, I don't need to rerun the project again and again. So that's a nifty, helpful tool right there. So moving on to the process. So what we're going to be doing here. So this flowchart simply discusses what the overall process is going to be like. So once you have set up the required stuff on the server, then or the required packages, once we have installed that, then we're going to be initializing the backend with socket library together with the HTTP module. We're going to be wrapping the socket.io with the HTTP module, sorry, so that we can create a web instance for it. And then right after, we're going to emit the data from the OSUtils. So we're going to be scraping the data from there, and we're going to use the socket.emit function so that we can emit the current data from this package. And once the data is emitted, on the client side, we're going to be listening for the changes. So we're going to be subscribing for the changes if ever there are, and we're going to be doing that using the context library, or the context library from React. I think I've researched on this on proper ways to actually listen data on the socket.io client, and it seems that it's much better for us to listen changes, especially on the socket.io client, using a context, so that if ever we're gonna be passing data from different components or different like parts of our app, then we don't need to initialize socket.io again and again. It doesn't make any sense. You just need to initialize like once and then subscribe for the changes, and that's it. So that's why we're going to be creating a context as well. So that's it for the client. sorry. So once the data was set on the context, then the data will be wrapped and passed to the components. So if this, this component can be like information about the basic information about your PC. This is about the CPU. This is about the memory, and so on and so forth. So that's what the setup and process is gonna be like about this project, small project that we're gonna be doing, or we're gonna do. So as much as possible, I would want to have like a similar look to this, not entirely like all the components. It's just, we should be able to at least utilize like the recharts library, so that we can display like graphical representation of data from the OS utils package. So that's what we're gonna be doing, and we're gonna be like creating the basic boilerplate, or I'm gonna be creating the basic boilerplate on the next video, and I will discuss to you the intricacies of what I made, or what I'm gonna be doing, and at the same time some helpful tips that might help you on similar scenarios if ever you're gonna be creating something similar to this as well. So yeah, that's about it. See you guys on the next one.